Those followers of Christ, as they looked upon Jesus hanging on the cross, as he grew weaker and his strength began to leave him, they heard him cry, "I thirst," and they were thirsty also. They heard him cry, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" And they felt forsaken also. And they thought they would never smile again. They thought they would never laugh again. Their hopes were gone, their help was gone. And someone said, "He saved others, why can't he save himself?" And their hearts sank. And when they heard him cry, "It is finished," they didn't have an understanding of what he meant. It is done. It is accomplished. What they didn't know was at that moment, hell was defeated. At that moment, Satan was whipped. At that moment, Satan was stripped of his power. And at that very moment, the child of God was given power forever. When they laid him in the tomb, their hopes were gone. Their hopes for the moment were buried with him. And when they left him in that cemetery, their limited understanding made them believe it was all over. It was a dark, dark day with feelings of defeat and despair as they returned home to grieve. Their hopes, they felt, were gone forever. The body of their Savior and leader lay still in a tomb. And their existence no longer had any meaning at all. Their world seemed to have come to an end. Contrary to everything those religious leaders of that day thought. You see, they thought he was finished as he lay in the tomb. But I can tell you, he was beginning to have a field day. He was just about to have the time of his life. Have you ever known a bully and how he picks on people, and then one day he picks on the wrong person, and that person turns his nose upside down so it'll rain in it, so to speak. And you just sit back and you enjoy the moment. After all they had done to Jesus, he is now having the time of his life. He is now preaching to the spirits in prison. Those who lived and died before any opportunity was given to accept or reject any form of the doctrine of Jesus Christ. He's now doing prison ministry and evangelism, which nobody else could ever do. Something was going on down in the cemetery. Something was taking place that had never taken place before. In that cemetery where no action is expected, world-shaking events were starting to occur. Something that shakes my life, and something that shakes your life, and something that shakes the entire world. Inside the tomb, yet unknown to the world, suddenly the eyes of Jesus were open. Nobody saw it. Nobody was around, but suddenly his eyes were open. You see, they had been closed by death, but now they're open to resurrection power and resurrection life. His hands that were nailed by spikes are now free to reach to where you are, and free to reach to where I am, and free to reach the world. Free to touch your hearts and your afflictions, and those hands of Jesus that can meet every need. He unties the napkin from his head, folds it neatly, and lays it down. He steps out of those linen clothes that were provided for his death, and he lets them lay in the place of death because he's no longer there. The earth shook at the time of his crucifixion. The earth could not stand it, and it could not be still at his resurrection. So it shakes again. And old Mother Earth says, "I can't stand it any longer. I must shake because the Son of God is alive." It's just like when the Spirit of God touches you. You know that he's alive. And Mother Earth said he's alive, and she began to shake again. He's alive, and the angels, they couldn't stand it. They wanted a part in this joyful celebration. And God said, "You go down and roll the stone back." And they pushed the stone away, and they just sat down on it as if to say, "You thought you could hold him. You thought you had him. You thought he had never come out of here. You thought it was all over, but I'm sitting on this stone to tell you and to tell death and to tell the world that he's not here. Death could not hold him. He's alive. He's alive." My friend, Jesus laid down his life for you and I. He has power over death, hell, and the grave. And he went into the heart of the earth and took the keys. to death, hell, and the grave. And because of that, we can have that same resurrection life. We can die to the old man and come out a new creature and live throughout eternity with the Savior of the world. Take heart in knowing today that the Son of God is alive, and He did it for you and I. Be blessed in the Lord today.